how that goes. But as I very briefly mentioned here, this is my great friend, Omar. Omar Ben Safar. He is here tonight to talk about his upcoming campaign right here on A Tale of D20s. You are getting the extra spicy, saucy preview. By diving into this world, you are going to, I guess, Omar, how would you say, almost put yourself in the shoes of a player tonight, learning about the world for the first time?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So that's it's pretty exciting. And this, like an onion, which also has great flavor, strong flavor, this has many layers on this show. So in addition to diving into Omar's brand new homebrewed world with homebrewed mechanics, we have another layer here where, as dungeon masters, it's extremely important to communicate with your players. I think, Omar, you can agree with that. And or not, for dramatic effect, depending on the situation. But
I know I very much do.
But 99.5% of the time you're going to want to communicate, which is super important. And it leads me to the point of the episode, in a way, because we're going to be talking about player packets and what level of information do you want to give your players, so that way they have a little bit of knowledge, especially in a homebrewed setting, as we'll see here tonight. And what's gonna leave some mystery there. And I think, after reviewing the packet myself, Omar does a great job of giving us just enough juicy bits where we can fill in our own blanks and create new blanks, actually, which helps bring the story to the players. And I would just like, Omar, throw it to you. What is your favorite thing about either making or receiving a player packet?
So I had the idea of doing a player pack actually from a combination of you mentioning it before, as well as what I've kind of seen other dungeon masters do, and I'm just like, duh, that's a great idea. Why throw your players into a world they don't know and expect them to make a character? Why not actually get them information to set the mood? Because not only that, it kind of like puts them like into the world, it hypes it up, and it gets them excited. And so I found that creating the character packet was just super fun, because then when you're writing it down, you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This makes sense. And I'm like, and then you could start to, you could start piece things together, and then realize like you already built your world and now you're putting it on paper in a character packet. But it's a good way to review the what you have created, and then like kind of like checking your work, if you. So,
I totally agree. In fact, as you were like describing that, it made me honestly think of how whenever I did my own campaign and going through yours, this is kind of like, as a dungeon master, creating your own bonds like with the world. For those unfamiliar, even for one shots here on A Tale of D20s, or you can find both of us over on Amateurish Productions as well, where we've also done this. We come up with different bonds with the other player characters before we run an adventure, and that helps just break the ice a little bit, and also create some familiarity and create connections to make it just a little bit more fluid whenever we get into the role play stuff. And like with that in mind, I think exactly how you were talking about it, Omar, you start looking at your different cities and you start making these connections on why the things are happening the way they are, and you just like create your own bonds with the world, which I think is a super important thing for dungeon masters as well.
Oh yeah, totally, 100% agree. And it lets me get feedback from the players. Like if they're like, "Oh, I don't really understand," and then like the packet that I gave you guys for Descent into the Void Campaign 2 was like 3.0. It was like I handed to it, it's like, this doesn't make sense. Thanks. Went back again, tried it again, and then until it actually was perfected.
Yeah, that's also super helpful because then you're actively getting feedback and like you're potentially seeing not like weaknesses in a bad way, but more like weak points that, you know, you've already justified in your head. So maybe you glossed over where the, you know, someone coming in cold might not exactly understand everything like you're describing it. And things will make sense in different orders for people. So it's good to get that feedback, and that also helps you as a dungeon master.
Exactly. Oh, so. And Higoki just subscribed for 3 months. Thank you, Higoki.
Whoa, awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome sauce. But yeah, I 100% on the same page with you there, Zach.
Yeah, and I guess with that was actually a pretty good, succinct introduction to the show, especially this first season where I think we're going to focus on Dungeon Master and World and the connections between the two, between the players, so on and so forth. I guess we can start diving into Omar's world.
Hey, so what would you like to know? Where should I start?
Let's give it a name. What is the name of this world?
Oh, Aedremel or Aedremel. You can pick your poison. I pronounced it as Aedremel, actually.
I love how, as the creator, you're like, yeah, you know, depending on what part of the country or continent you're from, you might pronounce it differently. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, you're totally gonna hear, if you know me, I have like all different accents, which I don't claim to do any specific accent. They're just a combination of sounds. They're all original. But you know, they'll probably be saying it all their own special way. But yeah, it's the world of Aedremel, and it is, if you watched, or say if you listened to our first inaugural podcast campaign, Descent into the Void Campaign 1, it is thousands of years past the ending of that campaign. So it's, you will see some me paying homage to or a whole bunch of things, Easter eggs from campaign 1. You'll definitely see what happens, per se. You'll see hints of what happened to the characters from campaign 1 in there.
Oh no.
But they're long gone. It's thousands of years.
But my character is not long gone.
You'll have to find out what happened to you.
I'm gonna have to like go out and search for my latest incarnation or something. How funny would that be?
Yeah, that, I mean, I can't say anything. I can't say anything. I can't give spoilers.
Yeah, don't. I don't want. Well, we are. This is the sneak peek.
That's too much of a sneak peek.
I want that storyboard exclusive. Actually, let's get it. No, I'm just joking. I don't want to ruin anything for myself either. So that's exciting either way. To know that it's in the same world that exists. And where can people find that podcast? Actually,
you can find it on our website, www.taleofd20s.com. It's still releasing episodes. We've still got one full season left before we have a kind of cliffhanger ending. That's what all I'll say on that one. But or you can catch it on a podcast streaming service near you, like Spotify, YouTube.
I pretty much tell people anywhere where you can find podcasts, that's where it's getting sent to.
Just the Tale of D20s or Descent to the Void. You can just search for any of them.
Yeah. So awesome. So it exists 1,000 years in the future. And what else? Well, like if you were to give like an elevator pitch for the adventure or an introduction to the adventure, what would it be?
Sure. The way I pitched it to you guys, the players, was this: that it is a dark and gritty world. Descent into the Void was a kind of dark and gritty world. You can say that's my forte, or things that I like to build. But this one is magic is super abundant, so much so that it's actually causing issues and problems. Like I said, it's thousands of years in the future, so we see a new continent that we're on, the continent of Greymore, and there it's There's these, if you little spoiler of the, if you have listened to Descent into the Void, there's the ley lines, which are just the magical tunnels that are underneath the entire plane. They're just exploding. Think of it like geysers, and just it's just everywhere in the entire plane.
Pumping.
And it's causing these issues called hexes. Now, hexes are bad. Hexes, well, now they may not always be terrible. They can cause some good things, but for the most part, hexes are bad. They're just a a focus of magic that can basically curse anything. So
Almost like a build up.
yeah, like a build up,
Like
backup.
Yeah. Ugh, clogged.
Yeah, clogged.
And just think it's going through the ley lines, like those crazy things you see in the sewers that are like full of just like fats and stuff. Fatbergs, I think they're called.
I have no idea.
It's ridiculous things. Just put that into YouTube later and be horrified. But for right now, talking about the ley lines getting backed up.
Yeah, exactly. And so with this, the people obviously have lived and have kind of twisted. They kind of built their lives around this. And the kingdoms, there are, or we call them realms in this. You have the 5 realms that are basically, they were at war, fighting over who knows what at this point, until right now we are in a time of peace. And right now they have to focus on fighting these hexes, these magical collections of magic, and the only ones who can stop them are people called spellbinders. Now, what are spellbinders? Simply put, they're the magical police. They go around solving magical puzzles and mysteries and crimes, and trying to break them. Now, these spellbinders, as they're called spellbinders because they bind spells. They break hexes. They're also called hex breakers. And a hex can be anything that can be magically touched. We call them the woven. If you know D&D lore, the spell weave is just the magic that swirls all around the planes. And so people who have access to the spell weave are called the woven. And anyone who is woven can be mana touched, as we call it, and be corrupted by this abundance of magic. But the one thing I did not mention is what is bringing all these hexes, what is causing this backup. That is something called the afflicted. The afflicted come up from this magical place known as, I'm gonna say it, the void.
The void.
There lies the title of the campaign, Descent to the Void. So they come out, think of them like zombies spreading magical diseases and infecting magic. And when they do so, anyone like a sorcerer or a wizard, anyone who can use magic or anything like a magical item can be infected. And let's say you're in the middle of a tundra, yet there's a volcano out of nowhere that pops up and it causes a massive amount of heat. That is not something that's normal. That is something that needs to be stopped because it's breaking the ecosystem. It's breaking the fabric of magic. And so the only people who can break these or destroy these are the hex breakers, aka the spellbinders. And that is what you guys are.
Excellent. That is a very long elevator ride as well. This is like if you are in New York City by chance and you're taking like a 60-floor slow shuttle, because that was so in depth. I love it so much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know. I should.
No. I was like, "What's the elevator pitch?" And we get like 3 minutes of lore drop. Love it.
Whoops! I don't know how to do a brevity. I'm sorry.
No, it's one of the reasons I love being a player in your campaigns. Like, there's always tons of description on what's going on. So one thing that I kind of, focused in on my attentions whenever you were just describing that is you talk about magic as if it is just, another thing in the universe, like soil and rocks and trees, and the way that it is involved with the environment. Is that intentional, and is it like a very high magic setting?
Yes, very high magic. Magic swirls all around you. It is in the air you breathe. As in dark puts. um, but yes, it's part of everything. It's the world cannot live without magic, but there's so much of it that they can't live with it either.
Okay. So like it's this double-edged sword, and we're probably gonna have to explore that idea during this whole campaign as well, I'm guessing. Just because if I know you, you're not putting that in there just, for S and Gs.
Mhm.
I guess you're the head honcho, Omar. Are we allowed to curse on this channel?
Yeah. There's an 18 plus somewhere there. The thing says not for children, so you can curse, shit, fuck,
Yeah,
all you
so
want.
shits and giggles. That's what we were talking about. You're not doing it just for S and Gs. You're doing it for a reason. So I think that's really cool, and I think, and you're really good about this. Whenever you like talk about your world as a dungeon master, you kind of want to make everything second nature, because like, you know, you're giving the player information that way on another level, that like I totally got out of this player packet as well. That you're giving your player knowledge as like a secondary or tertiary fact to the primary issue of the statement. So like you're talking about this is the problem, and in talking about what the problem is, you can like make all these like assumptions almost of like how the world's going to behave, like magically, or the physics of it or whatever, which I think is super cool, and just something like I picked up on after many sessions of your descriptions and stuff like that. So do you actually have a visual of the player packet, and we could start diving in?
Let's see if I can work it and get it on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. No promises that the stream won't just randomly just cut off or something. So if I click this button here,
Seems legit.
and then go to display capture. Okay, bam, I think I got it. All right, let me shrink it down. All right, I'm gonna just block my face, so that way.
No, don't do that.
Well, that way you can see the packet. There we go.
No, you can't block your face.
I'll put myself underneath you, then, and that should make everything all better. Now it's fine.
This is
but yes, so we are now looking at the Descent into the Void campaign 2 character packet, currently on the front page, and I will scroll up and down so we can go ahead and view them.
excellent.
But did you want me just to go over it, or do you how should we go through this?
I guess my first question, if I was a player coming into this, for example, is this photo important?
So this photo is kind of, it in essence shows kind of like the plane of, I wouldn't say Aedremel per se, but Greymore, the world of Greymore. It's beautiful, but it's not like, or like what you're saying, like frolicky woodland creature, like super magic like that. It's more of like a, like if you look at Middle Earth and Lord of the Rings, like it's beautiful but dark, and it looks more real, obviously, because it's like filmed in parts of the country.
it's like seeing like a wild animal, like out in the woods kind of thing.
Yeah,
like it's a beautiful thing, and it's full of life, but like also stay back maybe.
Exactly. So it's not the safest area I was trying to kind of portray in this picture, but it does have its wonders and its beauty, and lots of places to explore. Plus, I wanted to capture that fantasy element and show like the topography of the world you're going to be in.
You had me at topography, I gotta say.
Because specifically, so this is kind of like a general image of what I imagine Corinth to be. So there
Oh,
are
cool.
5 realms, and I'm gonna just scroll down, and so I can say them all. There's Lumaria, Enderwin, Baraset, Ilda Elver, and Corinth. So the story starts in Corinth, which is like the realm of where magic is like a religion, and so that's where you guys will be starting your story. And I wanted to show that it was more of like a kind of like a flatlands, but like with pockets of water here. The sky is kind of like, think like an afternoon in London, kind of overcasty, but still has that kind of spark of beauty to it.
So only one sun. I guess I have to live with that.
Yes, there's only one sun.
No visible moons, but that doesn't mean they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any dragons flying around, so...
And that is a significant why there are no dragons.
Interesting. Sneak peek first. Storyboard exclusive, everybody. Where are the dragons?
Hashtag where are the dragons? Yes, that's
let's get that trending, because it'd be like very like antithetical to what Wizards of the Coast is doing with their whole Dragonlance setting. So like
well, the funny thing is, and as I mentioned before, so this story, because I've read the Dragonlance book, I've read obviously Spelljammer, Ravenloft, excuse me, and those kind of like darker stories in Dungeons and Dragons, if you will, and it's has a lot of inspiration from them, but like, obviously Dragonlance, it's full of dragons, but dragons are important to this world. I will say that. So that is exclusive. Dragons are important, but they are not around for reasons.
Honestly, I think this is the first game of Dungeons and Dragons in the past, like, what's it been now, like 6 or 7 years, that is going to have an actual dragon in it. This is so exciting. Hopefully there's dragons around. I guess I'll find out for sure in like a couple months, but
very true. I will say this. I hope I'm not jumping the gun here. So it is amongst those other books that I mentioned, we're taking heavily, or we're taking the story, or at least the skeleton of Strixhaven, which is kind of like the magic school setting, and that's where the spellbinders are trained. This is where you guys are going to be going and attending class and completing these quests as spellbinders. And of course, you get paid lots of money of doing so. So you're basically getting paid to go to college. Then wouldn't that be great if it was real?
So it's like the opposite of the King Killer Chronicles.
Yes.
That's like one of the main plot points is like how much debt Kvoth can get himself into by going to school. So like this time we're actually like I guess it's kind of like the Magicians, where we're like college level, right? So now we're basically like research assistants.
Exactly. And your job is to go out there and discover. Now, magic can mess things up normally. It doesn't have to be something that's caused by the afflicted, which the disease that they spread is called the spell scourge. It doesn't have to be. It could be just like a normal.
It sounds like super metal, by the way. It's like
spell scourge.
Like, do I actually want the spell scourge? Like, do I get a sweet denim jacket if I like also get the spell scourge?
You don't want to get the spell scourge, which I will say, since we're being all exclusive here, you the players can catch a spell scourge if possible, which will cause a whole new mechanic to it. So like watch where you stick your wands, I guess.
I was trying to think of a way to work it in.
But
MTDs.
The exclusive I would say is that all of the members who go to the college, which we're calling the Citadel, specifically you are going to the Citadel called the Fractal Sanctorum, They're all about numbers and cool visuals and stuff like that, which you'll see in play. But they all get to ride when they're official spellbinders, because you won't get it when you first start. Wyverns, so you will be getting some free mounts eventually. Because not dragons quite, they're dragon
Ooh.
kin, but they are wyverns.
And that's also something that I've wanted since like 6 or 7 years ago when I first started playing D&D. Like it was like in my original D&D character's backstory that I was either training to be or was already like at the level of attaining like my own worm to fly around with. Like that was like those are you're hidden check boxes on this campaign so far. That's all I'm saying.
Sweet.
So this is amazing.
I am super excited for that. Because I was like, I've always wanted to. Here we are.
Yay!
I
Not just solo me.
let me adjust it. But I've always wanted to be like a dragon rider, and I never got to be in a campaign where I was able to become something like a dragon rider. So being able to bring that and have a side characters who do it. I mean, technically as a DM, I'm like all the characters versus the main players. I can totally live my fantasy of riding a dragon, or a dragon-like creature, as well as you guys as the players. So that's something cool that will show up.
That's amazing. Okay, so I think we can get past the first page now.
Okay. Okay. So you can see there's a table of contents. Easy way for you to navigate through the packet.
Let me just say that as a player going through this, super helpful. It is great to see everything kind of split up here, so that way, if I'm making my backstory for a campaign and I want to like dive more into the spellbinders because I want to make up some story about my parents being spellbinders, for example, I now have an easy way to just go and like find some of that basic information that is inclusive in your world, but still also inclusive of my own ideas and thoughts of what I want to bring to the campaign. So super sweet to see a table. I'm a book nerd. I like seeing this kind of stuff. Like table of contents is important to me, and knowing what books are allowed in your campaign if you're playing with strangers, hugely important. So I give you a lot of props for having a super organized player packet, which is sometimes not easy to do.
Thank you. Well, I knew that you would specifically be looking at it, and I'm not saying you're judgmental, but I was like, I know Zeki's gonna want. I know what he's gonna want. I need to make sure I bring it and make it make sense, make it good, make it nice.
You make me sound like I'm some like one note, czar or something.
Oh no, not at all. But you keep it on point. But yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to give, because I want to make sure that you guys can make the characters and flesh it out as much as you can, because I want you to live your fantasy. Like, live your fantasy. My goal as a DM is to not have you make characters that die quickly, though death is a possibility.
Is it, sweet summer child?
Yeah, I won't hold the punches, but I'm not gonna be like, and nails fall down on you, and a dragon fireball, and this and that. Listen, good luck. No, I'm not gonna put you in those like impossible situations unless you put yourselves in those impossible.
Shouldn't touch the chair. Hashtag don't touch that chair. Oh.
But yeah, so I mean, table of contents, and then of course I go into Aedremel, and it's just like kind of like a welcome to the world of Aedremel. And I won't read this entire thing, but
yeah, you don't have to read the entire thing, but I will say, as a player going through this, having this first page was super cool for me because it had the same vibe as like any of the like official Wizards of the Coast books. Like they always do like hello greetings adventurer or whatever, like the fourth wall immersion kind of thing. So this was like really cool to see that, you're kind of keeping it to the same drumbeat as something that someone who is familiar with Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition would also be seeing things. So that helps players acclimate just a little bit easier. And I think it's like a small thing that like dungeon masters like take this is advice. If your players are used to reading a certain style of writing, it may be advantageous to either find out if they can actually read that writing first, and then implement similar styles, so that way it's digestible to them in the same reference frame that they've already had going through like the player's handbook or something like that. So again, props to you, Omar, with making a very welcoming, familiar looking introductory page.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and basically it goes on just explaining what the world of Aedremel is, the history, over 1,000 years of war and strife, and everything I explained to you before about the 5 realms, and just giving you a brief overview. And then if we continue on, we go into more in-depth on all the 5 realms on the continent of Greymoor, which, like I said, Lumaria, Enderwin, Barasset, Ilda, Elver, and Corint. As well as where their location is. So I don't have a map to present yet because I'm still finishing up, but I can picture this. As with the job of DMs for me to paint you a picture. So it is a complete. I'm gonna say it's like an island, it's a continent that's connected. There's no breaks in between. It's longer than it is wide. So like basically like the opposite of America, which is kind of wide across. It goes straight down, and there's the top, and if you break it up into 5, I wouldn't say equal pieces, but if you break it up into 5 pieces, that's kind of like from top to bottom what the how the continent is, with a little bits of mountains here and there and maybe lakes. But for more important, there's no like water travel unless you're going off the sides to the oceans, which are to the left and right.
Oh, so there are no river systems.
No, I would say there are rivers. Yeah, there are rivers.
But like specifically ones that connect different kingdoms together.
Right, yeah, they wouldn't be. Okay. You would basically be traveling by air, which is what most magical people do in this world, or on foot through some type of vehicle or your own feet. Or say on land by some vehicle or on your own feet. And a lot of these places are inspired by some of my favorite places in history, like Barasset, in terms of the topology. Even though it's in the north, I was like, north, of course people think north is cold. In this case, the north is hot. And it's kind of like, I think of like ancient Egypt. I got inspirations from Egypt to build Barasset. Even the name has like an Egyptian flow to it. So like a lot of these places I got inspiration from actually real world locations.
Is it like Philadelphia though?
As in
it's always sunny.
Oh,
because like I'm just like thinking about like if like the top of the continent, and this could just be like the answer is it's magic stupid, don't think too hard. If that's the case, just tell me. So because it's like super arid on the top of your world, does that mean that like technically speaking the top of your world is actually the equator? Or does like the world kind of like rotate like in such a way where I guess the sun would kind of like wobble around and it would be constant daylight?
Well, the way that the world works is that it's a flat plane, so it's not round.
Okay, so that's important. See, magic stupid.
It's kind of like your typical going back old school D&D, how the planes were all flat and within their own sphere. And then this is where I take a little bit from Spelljammer, how like you
Mhm.
have
The
the
crystals.
crystals and like the globes that they're in, and then you have like then space and then so on and so forth. But yes, so and it seems that the way that this, if you would say, revolve around its sun, is that its Barasset is always closest to the sun, so it's always hotter. So it's not technically a magical reason why it's hot. I mean, it's still magic is in this world, but it is specifically geographically at the point where the sun will hit the harshest in this universe.
Okay, I dig it.
Now, scientifically, why? Because magic. That's how it is.
Does the sun? I'm just gonna go with magic, I guess, because I'm just like trying to think of like how does day and night cycle work in a flat plane?
It's
Are you revolving around the sun, or is the sun revolving around you?
probably a little bit of both. Magic.
Fair enough. Just magic, stupid.
The gods, they grab the sun and they put it away and then bring out the moon. It's all controlled by the gods up in the astral sea.
Oh, that's so Wizard of Oz. I love it. Okay, so that was Barasset, right?
Yes.
And it has this warm, hot Egyptian type feel to it.
Yes.
Does that include like the imagery of pyramids and sphinxes
Yes.
and stuff like that?
So we're going to get imagery of pyramid-like vessels. Specifically, you'll see. Oh, here am I giving some spoilers, but they're sneak peeks and not so much as spoilers. But Barasset specifically does not have a citadel. So all which are these like grand colleges that teach spellbinders. Now, Barasset doesn't have one. Its army is considered the school. Like you are in, if you want to be a spellbinder, you go into the army, and they have a very powerful military force. So they're very military driven. So you will see that their military training facility or their military facility is like a pyramid-like shape.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Specifically speaking, okay, your characters won't know this. Well, maybe they will. Maybe your characters might if you're learning enough. But the way that Barasset is that the top half, it's not a pyramid per se, more of a cone, whereas the top half is triangular, and then the underground, where a lot of random things, secret things happen.
A lot of things that happen in this secret military installation.
It's circular, so like a sphere.
Is okay.
So and that's all I'll say on that.
That's all you need to. You heard it first here on Storyboard, folks. Awesome. So, I guess what about Lumaria?
Lumaria. So Lumaria is my favorite place. Lumaria is so thousands of years have passed. So you would think, even though it's still in a magical world where it's not like, obviously we're not gonna see flying cars and things like that, but technology is progressing, and artificers, which didn't exist in Descendants of the Void campaign 1, are now here. And artificers are more like if you blend science and magic. So Lumaria is kind of that city of wonder and lights. That's kind of where the name comes from, like Lumaria, luminosity, like lights. It's kind of where it's all about. And it is like steampunk to the most. If you take fantasy and steampunk, which you can still consider steampunk as fantasy, and like blend it together, it is that. Like there are cogs and all types of weird machinations. Like if you think of like modrons and like mechanists and all those, that kind of setting, it's kind of like where I drew Lumaria from.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see a lot of automatons.
Does that mean it's like very lawful?
Yes, it's very lawful, very I would say it's very like lawful good. I would say lawful good, because I don't want it to be confused with like lawful, like if you break the law you're gonna go to jail. But like they follow the rule of law. They believe in their science, so like the science and magic and numbers and things like that. So yeah, I would say it's like a lawful So yeah,
Okay. So I guess I have some like follow-up questions if that's okay.
yeah, please.
So does that also then imply, since you are saying here that it is the youngest of the realms, that potentially some of this, like, I don't want to say like nationalism, but like this keenness for being a law-abiding citizen, does that like come from them being such a young realm and being just like super proud of their existence? Is that like something that we're going to have to, deal with as players in this campaign, or is it more along the lines of just like the people that make up this place also just happen to be pretty lawfully tuned?
Well, the Lumarians are, I wouldn't say outcasts, but they're the youngest because they discovered the ability to manipulate a substance that I call manasite, which is just like these
Okay.
crystals that hold the pure magical energy. And that's what they use to create magical weapons, and that's what artificers use. Because, like you said, technically artificers don't use magic; they use tools to replicate magical effects. And they basically in a mage society where it's like all internal magic and learn magic and magic, they kind of were like, we want to put magic in the hands of the every person. So leaving and making their way and using this mana site, they kind of built this city, and they're all about, like, in order you can dispose about the chaos because magic is chaotic. No way to put it, magic chaotic. So they believe that artificing is kind of like the key to making things orderly, and that's kind of like where their lawfulness comes from.
Okay.
And they're very rich
um
because they sell, though they make those magic items and they sell like hotcakes.
so does that, I guess, make them a nation state similar, I guess, to Japan, where they're very powerful in terms of like the world, but not necessarily because they're a military power, but because they are like on the like bleeding edge of technology at times?
Yeah, I would say that, and actually that's a really interesting comparison because just like with Japan was had the feudal era, and they, after, especially after World War II, they flipped the switch and then went straight into diving into technology. That's kind of like Lumarians. Like, all these war happened for thousands of years and there was no Lumaria, and which is all these people were fighting and doing what they were, but they kind of, after the warring stopped, they gathered together and built a city to fill a gap in technology that they felt was there, and then became the superpower. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I guess to follow up on that, and if you can't tell me, I understand, but for another storyboard exclusive, um, can you tell me anything at all about, you know, I'm like hung up on this whole youngest realm thing. I think it's super interesting.
Mhm.
And so I guess my question is, why is it the youngest realm? Like, were there like an ununified like confederacy of like tribes or small just like city states that now finally came together, or because you're talking about this warfare for thousands of years, um you know is this kind of like the unifying of the like the Qing dynasty, where we finally get China after, like, like the five different like like warring states kind of come together? Like, is that kind of the vibe I'm getting? A lot of like Eastern Asian vibes, which is like not a bad deal, because like I'm not really seeing anything that screams that, but just like my own knowledge of history and stuff like that, that's kind of where I'm like, oh, this is like kind of like this, and this is kind of like that. Like, is that something that went through your head when you were putting this place together, or was it like subconscious?
I would say it's a little mixture of both. So as you know, like we talked in the past, I love Eastern East Asian culture and history, and like I study it, and so everything I do, there's a little bit of that inspiration that goes into my work. So I would say it's fair. Now, was I specifically thinking about in here? No, but totally. totally, I would say it did influence the creation of this world in a sense. But to answer your question, yeah, so there were four realms at first, and they were at war. This is they were all fighting. It took the problem of the spell scourge to be like, all right, we either can kill each other and then the spell scourge wins, or we can just band together and stop the spell scourge. But within that kind of time of rebuilding, because after war they have to rebuild, there were people who are like, well, we don't believe in any of what you did. Enough people went and created their own small city, and then within a matter of like a couple hundred years, because these others have existed for like 1,000 years, you could say, or around that time. But within a couple hundred years, think circa America during the time of colonialism, they just built this to a global superpower, and in a matter of a couple hundred years, and now are looked up to as like a powerhouse of Greymore.
Okay. That's pretty sweet. I love all of the different things you pull from, because I love having like a wide net to cast when like finding inspiration to do world building stuff. Um I guess what would be your next favorite realm to talk about?
So let's go into Enderwin. Enderwin is a queendom, and it is like the heart. It is known as like the heart of Greymore, not only because it's at the center. So remember, if there are these five, what's right in the center of this continent is Enderwin. So it's technically touching every other, or well, at least most of the other realms. So all trade, like a lot of trade passes through Enderwin, and that's where when they have their summit, they all meet because it's kind of like a neutral like zone. And the Queen of Enderwin's kind of like a peacekeeper and a mediator between the keep the peace. So if something happened to Enderwin, hint, hint, it will cause quite a problem within the politics of Greymore.
Oh no, that would be horrible.
It would be horrible, wouldn't it? And like all the leaders, so there's 5 leaders. They're known as the Pentad. So there, I did it. I took the word five and turned it into something. But yes, they're called the Pentad. That's all 5 of them, and the Queen of Enderwin being the Queen of Enderwin being one of them. So she's allies with everyone, but like you know, if you're allies with everybody, someone's gonna get mad. So who knows? But yeah, they are. If anything, I would say they are all about the arts, and they have like culinary arts, plays, shows, like history. They are where people go to travel. So I guess you could say they're like a tourist, and I'm gonna say tourist attraction, but a lot of tourists like to go to Enderwin. Their main economy.
Nice. So it's it's like Florida, but like with like less crazy people.
Yeah.
Sorry, any viewers that are from Florida. See, I like mentioned Florida, and we got like 3 more viewers. Just they're crazy. That's Thank you for being from Florida. If you're from Florida, appreciate it. I guess I don't want to like spoil anything else about Enderwin. So let's talk about Ilda Elvir.
Ilda Elver, yes.
Elver. It's
super
Elver.
pretentious as I say it. Ilda Elver. You gotta roll your R's as you say it.
Oh my goodness.
So Ilda Elver is, I honestly, I mean, I said the other ones are my favorite, but I feel like actually, if I had to pick one of my favorites,
I could have called this like a mile away before you started.
Yeah, I like Ilda Elver because it's the Feywilds, but so much has happened over the last 1,000 years. So if you know Descent to the Void campaign 1, we had Harlequin, who was from the Feywilds.
Who did we?
And then you had Adventure in the Feywilds, and he became a god and all that stuff, or like blew up and turned into a god. Oops. Oh, that was a spoiler. Oh, sorry. I hope you're current. Actually, oh no, you're no. Okay,
Mm-mm.
sorry.
Super spoiler.
Super spoilers. Whoops, that episode didn't come out yet. But
I'm gonna give you a minute.
now I gotta get the episode out as soon as possible now. It's kind of like how they ruined Marvel Endgame, the actors, when they're like, yeah, we all die, and they're like, you can't say that, and he was like, oops. Yeah, just more
Tom
to
Holland,
it, you know.
America's sweetheart.
I think it was no, I think it wasn't Anthony Mackie. It was who plays Bruce Banner. I'm drawing a blank on the actor's name. But
It was him though.
Yeah,
he also got in
he
trouble.
also got in trouble
for
for that. But anyway, I digress. Basically, the Feywilds is a place that was supposed to be beautiful, magical. Think of like the normal. I mean, there's still it's still a dangerous place. But think you have when you pick up the Feywilds, you think of like your Lord of the Rings, the Elven Forest, like that kind of setting. But
like Lorien.
Yeah, basically how it was.
Lorien?
That's how it was. Now, over the course of thousands of years, there's another plane, as you know, D&D lore, that is parallel to the material plane. So you have the Feywilds and you have the Shadowfell. Something had happened over the thousands of years that blended together the parallel realms to the material plane. So that means that the Feywilds and the Shadowfell had combined into one, and now is called the Shadow Fey. And specifically, now that's an entire plane, which is just as big as the material plane. So one section of that lies in the same area as Greymoor is known as Ile de Elver. And the cool thing about it is that if you guys ever end up going to this Shadow Fey, it's not like you'll be in like one little country or city. It's the size of Greymoor, so you can explore a whole new section of Greymoor in the Shadow Fey. But it is a combination of like this beautiful enchanted forest, but like bogs and marshes and necrotic things, and everything is kind of combined in one. So it's not your happy-go-lucky Feywilds anymore. It's quite dark and dangerous.
So extra dangerous.
Yes, but it's still a place where people go to. It's still like an actual superpower here. So you'll see that its leaders are the Cloak and Dagger. They're two. They are led by two who take on that mantle, it is quite magical and dark, and they believe in life and death. That's kind of like their thing, like necromancy combined with like divinity and nature.
So wait, is one of them the cloak and the other one's the dagger?
Yeah, one leader's a cloak, one leader's a dagger. It can always be two.
Spicy.
The cloak cannot be by himself, and a dagger can't be by himself for reasons. And if they're separated, shit can happen. But that's why I'll leave that.
Ooh. I just want to know all the lore.
You have to play. I
know. I gotta play to find
out.
All right. I get my D20 out. First roll of the campaign, everybody. Oh, you can't even see it. It's so big.
Yeah. What'd you roll?
That's an 18.
18. Okay. I will say that the cloak and the dagger are kind of like one and the same. They're two entities symbolizing one larger thing. That's why I'll leave that.
I think I get it. As someone who played in one of your other campaigns, and also was part of a whole, I completely understand the vibe.
Exactly. So expect lots of cool adventures. A lot of the Fae creatures, we have some people who are from the Fae, who are like elves and gnomes and other creatures who are Fae creatures, so they may have some ties to Ile d'Elver and know about the Shadow Fae. So that's gonna.
We're not gonna have any elves in our campaign, right?
Oh, okay. I'm sure we're gonna have. First of all, there's gonna be a lot of NPC elves, and of course, one of the players is definitely going to be an elf. Yeah, yes, in Dark. I wonder who.
I I think one of the PCs is actually in the chat tonight.
Yes. But yeah, so I'm super excited to. I love the juxtaposition that is built in Ilda. There, you'll see like happy-go-lucky like elvish creatures or like pixies, and then you'll be like, what a cute pixie, and all of a sudden it like becomes more necrotic and like and like try to
Oh my
bite
god,
you.
it'll be like, okay, we got C.S. Lewis, we got C.S. Lewis, we got C.S. Lewis. Okay, it's H.P. Lovecraft. Just like, oh my
I
god.
would say on that level, that's how dark I wanted this campaign to be. It's gonna be scary. Like I feel like we don't have any really scary actual plays because it's hard to impact to create fear. But
All you have to do is play horror music with violins.
yeah, that's one way to do it. But I just wanted to keep you on your toes. So like obviously there'll be some time when you're safe, but when you're in these dark places, like you're gonna be like the creepy music gonna be playing. And oh, by the way, created a whole new soundtrack, so I can't wait to whip that out. It's gonna be
You did what now?
create a new
Wait,
soundtrack.
Okay, everybody pause for 1 second. First, with Omar saying that statement, if you haven't hit the follow button, just smash it. Like this player packet's unreal. All new music for a campaign that's going to be streamed right here. You're not going to want to miss it. Follow now. Just be ready for it. And Omar, I'll let you continue now. Because like I just like needed to draw some attention to that because that's a statement. Not many DMs are doing that.
The music is more like, so if you ever played Kane Legacy, like those old games with
I have on the PlayStation 2.
yes, so you know you how it has like that gritty dark sound, or you play Diablo 2 and you hear that music.
Mhm.
I got heavy inspired by that. Like I played those games, listened to them, and like just sat down, listened to the soundtrack because I don't want to copy, but I wanted to be inspired and get into that mood. So I would just like, we're gonna have creepy sounds. We're gonna have like those off-pitch violin strings that seem like a weird cacophony, but it's not because it matches the time signatures. Yeah, I'm throwing out a whole bunch of music theory stuff at you, but but you'll get all that, and I wanted to run chills down your spine. Like I want to hit that button and be like, oh yes, it is on now. Oh, did we get bits from Zendaric? Thank you, Zendaric.
I think we did.
I've never seen bits before. I was like, what is this?
Cheer. I don't understand. How do I cheer? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't block it, Zendaric. I promise.
As I said before in the stream, I don't know Twitch as well. I'm still learning. I probably will figure out how to unblock and do all that stuff. So apologies.
Bits and cheers. Money.
Really quick, I do want to mention though, if you look below, you'll see that we are running our charity campaign for the Trevor Project. So if you are feeling in the mood to give, 'tis the season, you can go ahead and hit that donate button, and it will all of it will go to the Trevor Project, an amazing nonprofit that helps LGBTQIA plus youth.
Seriously, this is a fantastic cause to donate to, and it's getting cold outside, and some of these teens don't necessarily have any other option. So this is the time of year when they need your help the most, which is part of the reason we chose this for the fundraiser.
Thank you. But yes, so you especially, I have songs that are only dedicated. The thing about it that I'm sad, like, so I made songs for every realm that you go to. So if you don't go there, I'm just gonna be looking at it like, oh, I want to use this song so badly. But I specifically like the Shadow Phase music because it will creep the shit out of you. But the whole campaign is that kind of creepy.
Oh my gosh.
Ambiance.
I love it.
I'm trying anyway. I hope I hope what I have in my head conveys to you guys and the audience, and you all get creeped out in a good way, like a horror movie type way.
Well, I just think it's important to realize that it is called the Shadow Fae,
Mm-hmm.
where shadow comes first there. So, I think things are cast in shadow. Exactly. And they might not be exactly what they seem. And I guess, we kind of talked about Corinth already, but did you also want to talk about anything else with Corinth?
Sure. I mean, I guess Corinth would be the most important of the plane of the realms, because that's where the story begins. So yeah, so Corinth is the most magical. Hence where you are all starting there. Corinth is kind of like like a mageocracy. So everything is run by the Pontifex. That's a shout out to Descendant Void Campaign 1 to pre-recording. Like if you read the book Descent to the Void Campaign 1 that we posted on our tailytoys.com, you'll know who the Pontifex is. But now the Pontifex a good guy or girl or person. It could be anyone, the Pontifex. But it is like a mageocracy that
what?
I think.
Did something happen?
No, you just got a follow, I believe. Unfortunately, it didn't pop on my screen to see who it was fast enough because I looked away.
Oh
no. But I will say, it is so it's not religious in the sense of they're going to be going to churches and temples, but they treat magic like a religion, part of their own blood, like their own like life force. So that's where you guys are going to be starting. And the most powerful citadel in all of the 5 realms, the Fractal Centaurum, floats high above in an island as big as Manhattan, around the entirety, like kind of like what's the word I'm gonna say, revolving around the edges of Corinth, through some means that you will get more of that as you play.
Interesting. Okay.
And it is, think of it as a place of higher learning, and the rest of the city is specifically like almost like a refuge for people who have been mana touched, or woven, who are susceptible to the spell scourge, to go and like kind of live peacefully and safely, at least I hope anyway. And also it's so magically the magic there is so powerful that it is said to increase life expectancy by like 10 years, 20 years, depending on what species you are. And as well as they have springs that can revitalize your skin. Like, it is the place to go. So one of their main ways, since they don't charge for tuition, is to make money, is that they do like Disneyland like tours. They're like, welcome to the Fractal Centaur. It's called the Isle of Eternity, is where and it kind of gets its name because it seems that people live there forever.
I gotta say, as like a future research assistant to this place, that would sound like eternity, having to give like Disneyland tours to tourists when I really just want to get into the magic myself. So
I mean, they have like mundane people who work there, who are allowed and who won't go to the school. But as I would say, as new students, there are 3 levels. There's the novice that you're gonna start off with. There's the adroit, which is like the second tier, and then finally you become a magus, which is a magic person, like a wizard, sorcerer, warlock, or a martialis, which is a magically touched warrior, like a barbarian or eldritch knight or something like that. But it is basically, you as a novice would probably be running, like, it's your job to now run a tour. so you'll be like, and it's a high price. Sorry if I'm rambling.
No. I'm taking it in because like I know now, like I'm definitely gonna have to give somebody a tour. I need to earn that money.
I'm trying to give you bits without giving too much away, so I'm making sure I can keep things in my head that without spilling things. As you all know or may not know, I'm the worst when it comes to keeping secrets. At least my own secret. I keep other people's secrets fine. My own, I can't. But
My plans are being foiled before your eyes, viewers.
but basically, like one of your first missions might be there's a tour of 50 people who paid some good money to take a tour around the Isle of Eternity, make sure they're fine and safe and they don't get into anything dangerous, which might be like a level 1 quest. Obviously, you'll go into bigger, badder quests as you level up, but that might be something you do as expected to do as a novice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that I can get down with. So it's not going to be like a mismatched thing where all of a sudden, or it probably will be. I'm not even going to say it because it'll just happen. I know it. I know that's how it'll work. But I feel like we've spent a very solid amount of time talking about the cities, like the major realms, and I guess now we, are moving into the citadels.
Yes. So the citadels. Now there are tons of magic schools or citadels all throughout Greymore, but there are 5 main citadels. Like these are like Ivy League schools that only the most adept students get
Most
accepted
elite.
to. The elite get accepted to. That's the Fractal Centaurum, which is in Corinth, the most prestigious. So you guys are going to the most prestigious of schools. The Techne Sarks, which is Lumaria's, like, and then you kind of get the name like Techne technology. That's what they're all about. The Twilight Historia, which is the
I wonder where that's at.
that obviously is going to be in the Shadowfey, as the name Twilight kind of plays onto that. You have Arados Citadel, which is within Enderwin, and then finally the Baraset Eldritch Army, which is what I talked about before.
Which is in, yeah.
And then Baraset. So just a brief thing, you already know about the Fractal Centaurum. The Techne Sarks are mostly just, there's all people go there, but they focus on like magical tools, technology, artificing, that type of magic, using mana sight to empower and imbue. Twilight Historia is all about revivification and healing and death, and as akin to
healing
the
and death.
Yeah, it's all one thing.
Of course,
I feel like I shouldn't say healing and like it's all one thing. It's just life magic. You can
just like life force.
Yeah, life force alterations, and then and then Arados. And now, even though I said that the Queendom of Enderwin is kind of like this happy-go-lucky place, its school, however, Arados Citadel, deals mostly in dark magic. Now, they don't see it as dark magic because no magic is evil, but they can see that this is a level of magic that has not been touched, so they will be there. You'll find a lot of your warlocks and your sorcerers who deal in the darker magics and all that. Not that they're evil, they're good, but they believe they have it in control. Like, I can summon a demon. As long as you control that demon, that's A-okay.
Okay. So is the Baraset Eldritch Army kind of like the Durmstrangs? Like, is that where Victor Crumb is?
You know what? If you want to compare it to that, yeah, they're very they will wear uniforms. I mean, everyone wears uniforms, but they're like army uniforms, swords at their sides.
Yeah,
trained to fight and kill.
That's what I'm just like picturing them like getting off their ship or whatever from the movie, and they're just like very serious.
Yeah, that's a good analogy for the Barasets. Their weapons are like the hook swords, like the sickle-like swords that you see.
Oh, what are those called?
I'm like drawing a blank. Shoot. I like had it and I know it, and then it's like boop, disappear in my head. You Google it really quick, because if I Google it, it'll change the page that I'm streaming.
What is it called? Oh my goodness! Yeah, what the heck is that?
But basically, it's like that's like another nod to Egypt and the swords that they use that I'm bringing into the Baraset setting.
to Kopesh.
Yes.
Sorry, oh my, that was driving me nuts.
It was me too.
The Kane Chronicles were
Yes.
destroying me with that. Oh my gosh.
So, if you don't know, or you may or may not know, because we have Theros Gods and Glory, which is like a Percy Jackson meets Dungeons and Dragons. I love Rick Riordan's books, so I'm like, a lot of my inspiration comes from those books, and I love the Kane Chronicles. I love the diverse characters. We had they had it in like starring ancient Egypt gods, and it was well done in my opinion. It didn't get enough love that it should have compared to
It
Percy
did
Jackson.
not. It's honestly my favorite series.
It's so good, and I love how it's taught. It's like in the all of his stories are in the first person in most ways. Like there's a narrator, but I like how it's like we're recording this, and so you're gonna hear it as if like we're telling the story, like how it's said.
Yeah.
And but yeah, exactly. So you'll see a lot of Barriset. It's inspired by the Kane Chronicles like setting. I'm not trying to steal it or do anything, but I do get inspiration from that.
That makes me super excited for this campaign. Oh, I love the Kane Chronicles. I am a huge stan for the Kane Chronicles.
Yay.
Like above all of the other series, like Ancient Greece. I know Omar, it's your favorite. Overdone.
I mean, honestly, I love ancient Egypt is my favorite setting. It's just that you see ancient Greece so much that it's kind of just easy to like default to that. But ancient Egypt is just beautiful. The lore, there's so much lore in ancient Egypt that I feel like we don't know because of it's just not presented to us. And I think it's something that people should really look up. Like, look at, if you're thinking of stories, try to blend, like try to diverge from the like ancient Greece, Rome, and those type of stories, and look at the other cultures because they have such rich stories.
Yeah, I mean, because of the Kane Chronicles, I like wanted to pick up the Book of the Dead and like just actually learn all of the mythology, because there's so many really cool like cyclic, is that the right way to say that word?
I think so.
A lot of cycles of relationships.
Cyclic, yeah.
Cyclic, I don't know.
Yeah.
cyclic, it's all running around in circles with like the relationships that like you'd see between the different gods and stuff. And the Kane Chronicles, without spoiling anything, follows some of that storyline and how history repeats itself. And I think there's, you know, some really cool story elements that you can get in all of the books because of that. But they're just so good. They only got like 2.5 books.
Yeah.
Or was it 3.5 books? I think it was 3.5.
Yeah, I think there was definitely 3 books. I remember
the 3 main books, and then there was like this like half one that was like a real thin paperback that I have. It's on my bookshelf back here, but I never read it because I was just so disheartened that it wasn't a full adventure.
But yeah, a great story and like a great setting to draw inspiration from. So, I mean, I like a lot of these places. I can't wait to see you guys go there, or you may not ever go there, but there are definitely, as your goal as spellbinders are to go to where these hexes are located and to dispel them. You might find yourself going to Barriset, but they have their own. So are you going to be welcome? We'll have to see. Maybe there'll be a joint Fractal Centaurum / Eldritch Army mission you'll have to go on.
I like love all of what's been discussed so far, first off, but then like in my head I'm picturing like we want this campaign to be like the Avengers, but like it's actually gonna be Ghostbusters.
I hope not. I'm confident.
I feel like it's gonna be way more serious, but like in my head I just have like there's gonna be moments where we're just doing Ghostbuster things and it's gonna be such a good time.
I think we're gonna. serious as I make it sound, there's going to be comedy. There's you guys, all the players. You guys are like hilarious and amazing role players. So I know we're gonna have drama and we're gonna have the comedy in there. So don't think you're gonna be in it for just sad and crying and fear. You're gonna have those haha laughing moments as well.
I
The prime
mean,
focus.
the thrilling highs make the lowest lows even more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have that. You know, we make it sound like it's going to be like super serious all the time, but that gets really old really fast. So there's going to be like these lighter moments as well as the darker moments, of course. Did you want to dive into any more of these specific citadels? Like, I know you kind of have said that each one of them is your favorite. So if you had to pick a favorite, which one would you like? If you were in this world, which citadel would you have gone to?
I mean, I would go to the Fractal Sanctorum because it is the most prestigious. I like the Baracel. If I had to pick one besides that one, it would be the Baracel Eldritch Army because I love ancient Egypt, and that's where I kind of drew some inspiration. So I love the setting. But it's an army, and I don't want to go fighting in an army. I don't want to. They're very like kill or be killed. They're very aggressive. Like their leader is called the Paragon. And basically they are the hero. Like their leader is not a king, queen, or any type of monarch. They're a hero, like an actual like holy sword wearing wielding hero who leads them. And then like when they die, they pass on the hero mantle to someone else and they become the Paragon.
Oh, that's super cool.
um
All right, I don't want to spoil any more things about the Citadel specific because that's going to be like our main gear of intrigue. I'm sure.
mm.
I'm sure there's going to be like different scenarios where we have to interact with other citadels, and that's going to be spicy.
Oh yeah. I don't think anything I've given was too much. It's things that
No.
characters may not know, but the world generally knows.
Yeah, which is what we're trying to do here tonight, everybody. We're not trying to, as much as I would like to, get all of the lore of the show, of the upcoming streamed show, but enough that coming into this, you're gonna find yourself kind of nodding along as if maybe you spent some time in this wonderful world. Maybe in another life you were at the Twilight Historia and we're just learning how to be the cloak or the dagger. We'll find out. But I guess that brings us to topography and climate, section 3.
Okay, so as you can see, I included your favorite section.
I did, and it only took us an hour and 20 minutes to get here.
Yeah, so this is a topography. So just kind of going over briefly, you see like give a brief description on how everything is. So we have Lumaria, which is to the south. And there's snow there. See there, I just kind of switched it up just to make something different than what we're normally used to. So it is the colder of the places. There's an overcast.
Stares at you in Penguin.
So Lumaria. So it's think of it like when you go to Lumaria, it'll be more of like a Christmas globe, because like it's like steampunky, so there's gears and everything like that. So you'll see like the little tracks and stuff, but there'll be like snow falling. So it's kind of like a winter wonderland place of Lumario. So it's gonna be really exciting to visit when you guys go there. Enderwin is kind of the western central area. It has rolling hill and lush green meadows. And like you are near the a little bit near the water, so you have the tropics kind of, and it's a popular destination for tourists. So you like it's basically like if in America here in the entire continent, you like the big vacation spot would be like Mexico, Cancun, and those places. Like it's kind of like that. So you will get a lot of tourists, and they love it. That's their main revenue. But as I said before, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, so again, it's like Florida.
Yeah, Florida. Yep. Okay, it's canon. Enderwin is like Florida. um,
For better or worse.
for better or for worse, yeah. Baraset is to the north and is the hottest temperatures, little rain, semi arid terrain. So like it's not desert-ish, desert like desert adjacent. It has like and it's nearby, kind of sharing a mountain border to Corinth. We'll jump down a little bit, which is more mountainous. So you'll see, as you saw on the picture all at the top, you saw the mountains in the background. It has like it's very craggy, but it's surrounded by that. So Corinth is more like protected, and that's to the west. That's to the east of the continent. So it's nearby the water, to the general ocean, but it's like its own little fortress. You can't really invade Corinth easily because of all the mountains that surround its borders. Um, and then you have the Ile de Ver, which is a completely different plane altogether. To be honest, it's the Shadowfey, and it's like colorful but swampy. It will have lush forests, but like thick bogs and swamps and all these dark places. And it's if you just take all that and combine it, if you just take like a muddy, dirty looking kind of swamp, but combine it with a beautiful forest, you mash together, and that's what you'll get from like the Ile de Ver.
Okay.
And that's kind of like the topography.
I am stuck on Baraset still. Surprise, surprise. Just because I love the idea of having the rain shadow of like the mountain range, and that is part of the reason why it's so arid and dry. So like in geology, as moist air passes over a mountain range, it expands and cools, giving the other side of it all the nice weather. But then as it goes across, it's nice and cool, and then as it comes down, it warms and compresses, causing no no moisture in the air, no humidity, that's the word I'm looking for, and like high evaporation rates, which like lend itself more to like these deserts, which is, you know, pretty much what we're seeing here, which I think is so cool.
Exactly, you hit the nail on the head on that one. Inspiration for that is, so I went to Hawaii and the Big Island, and literally the Big Island is, there's a big mountain range in the middle of the island. One island is super tropic, beautiful. The other side is just dead lava rocks, just desert like lava rocks, and it's amazingly cool. It's super cool, and like you can go around the island in like 5 hours if you drive, maybe a little bit more. But like it's like, wow, look at this beautiful trees and all that. And it's like, and wow, look at this almost an arid desert with just a whole bunch of rocks that are just really lava. And like it's because this mountain range causes that blockage and not allowed to get any type of moisture over to the one side. So yeah, there you go.
I've always thought of like how cool of an effect that is, especially when thinking about how people like coexist in that, and how people like, you know, just, it seems like common sense, but like to stay out of the desert and stay in the jungle side of things, but you know, people still adapted and learned to live in these deserts, as we've seen. And you know, I love it when real geology makes its way into D&D, because so often people put things next to each other and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
So I'm like, I guess magic, but that doesn't explain everything.
Right, and like that's why I wanted to do something like this, where to have, because the topology will explain, I can then be like, okay, so the desert, so what are these people gonna want? So they're gonna covet water more, they're gonna be a little bit more, I mean, like it may seem a little nail in the head or obvious, but they're harsher climates, the people are going to be a little harsher themselves, and that's why, and that's where like the Barasetians, I don't really have a term for the people, but like say the Barasetians, they're going to be like not the most welcoming because they grew tough because of the environment that they were raised in.
Is it like super windy sometimes too? Like does wind like rip through there?
Oh yeah, but it's like desert winds that are like
Yeah. So, I'm just like thinking about how that would like affect a people like with the way that they dress. Like would you be wearing more form-fitting clothes? Would you be wearing more baggy clothes that can breathe a little bit better like you see in Egypt today even? Or is it something where, it's more like a dune situation and these people are wearing like super tight things so that way, it keeps all their moisture in?
So I would say it's more like Dune. So they're wearing these clothes to keep the moisture in the sun because they'll get burnt from the sun and this heat. So they're wearing layers that are breathable but still blocking them from the elements. Because if you get dust and sand up in there, you'll just suffocate. Until you get to a city, of course, and then they have like magical barriers and stuff like that.
Okay, excellent. So cool. I get so excited about stuff like this. Is there any other sweet geology you want to talk about?
I will definitely say when you go to Ild Elver that you will see how the environment that they live in impacts their world, probably more so than anyone else because they are so into the land. Regardless of such, they're still fey creatures. They're still one with nature, whether that nature be beautiful trees or just kind of these dark, swampy bogs and marshes. Like they will be using it, so they'll be digging in there. So they get their hands dirty, and they are one with the earth themselves. But I will change their culinary practices. When you guys eventually go there, you guys might not be like, yeah, I'll pass on that, or if you want to be rude anyway. So you'll see that a lot of what the environment is impacts their daily lives, their diet. Like I'm not gonna like focus on it, but like look at their diet. But you'll catch things here and there, and be like you're served this plate of food, and you're gonna be like, versus when you go to like Barasset, you'll be like, oh, I'm getting this instead, and I will call out these things just so you can keep it in the back of your mind, just to kind of paint the world.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of level of detail is like super. I think it's super necessary because it fills in a lot of the imagination gaps, is what I'll call them, between what the player is projecting in their mind and what the DM is projecting in their mind. So if you can like fill those gaps a little bit, the world is more cohesive between the two interfacing, and you're able to get this more immersive world going, which ultimately helps the story, it helps the DM, helps the player. So that's awesome. I do have like a question with Ilda Elver. Is there like a court system?
So they do have in terms of how they handle their laws, that there is I wouldn't say a court system. Okay,
Oh, forgive me. I mean court as in like the queen, and then like there's like a mother matron, a queen, like a fairy court. I'm thinking.
Yeah. Oh, totally get it. Like the court of summer and things like that they used to have.
Yeah, like the summer court, the winter court kind of thing.
No, that all went. So
okay.
Basically, they adopted a lot of the lore and the customs of the Shadowfell, which was more kind of lawless. It was run by the Raven Queen, so you'll see a lot of imagery towards the Raven Queen implanted in there. Though I won't go. I'm still finishing building the Pantheon. I think it's the last bit I want to put in here because of Descendant of Void Campaign 1. The gods have switched their errors. Like prior to Descendant of Void Campaign 1 was Error 1. During Descendant of Void Campaign 2 was Error 2, and then you guys did the whole time travel thing, which is not a spoiler, that's out. You did the whole time travel thing and saw both and saw how the changing of the pantheons affected the world. And then now we're in Era 3. So we have a new pantheon.
Oh,
but the Raven Queen does exist in this pantheon and is heavily worshipped here, um, as well as other Fae gods and goddesses. But in terms of like, there's no more court. It's more so that, at least in this section of the Fae Shadow Fae stretches infinitely. But where you'll be interacting, it's the cloak and the dagger, and then the people who the cloak and dagger has underneath them, kind of rule. Now they may be nobles, and I use that harshly because not truly nobles, like, but people who have higher power in different cities in Ildel there. But for the most part, it's they all go back to just the cloak and the dagger. That's all I can say on
Okay.
that.
That's totally fine. And that's kind of like where I got my question, because I was thinking about it, and it's like you have to have one to have the other, which is something you mentioned. You have to, like, you're finding balance in these things. But it's like, there's always going to be one side that's more in charge of things, because there's always, it's just a pendulum of sorts. And that's kind of where I got this idea of like having um this like fake court type thing. But I am happy to be surprised about something slightly different.
Yes. Oh, I will say this: your adventure may take you out of all the places. Probably that place out of one other place, you will probably definitely go to the Shadow Fae. Only because I think it's really cool, and since it's parallel, a lot of things that you need to do. Think of it like Legend of Zelda, when you needed to go back in time to change something that's in the present, and you have to go back and forth, or Majora's Mask specifically, when you have to kind of
Yeah.
go back and affect things in a different place that in order to affect in the realm that you're currently in. You'll probably have to do stuff in the Shadow Fae to then complete things you need to do in the material plane. That's all I'm gonna say on
That's, I find that acceptable.
that. But it's all up to you to use your mind. As you can see from like Theros Gods and Glory, I love a good puzzle, a good riddle.
Oh
So
yeah.
things will be given to you not in the form of a riddle. They're not going to be like, and 3 times you click the bells, and no, it's not going to be none of that. It's going to just be like, figure it out, and the clues will be there for you, and you'll have to figure out and make sense on where to go next.
Okay. Well, I guess that answers all my questions that I can have for right now. With that, um, I'm familiar with the Void, but we have, maybe some people in the audience here that are not as familiar with the Void. So, would you like to briefly talk about what you can?
Yeah. So, if you remember from campaign 1, the Descent of the Void, they basically started off on a plane called the Broken Lands and found which was a toroid planet, like a donut-shaped planet. And right in the middle, they just kind of climbed down and went down into this pit. And instead of it like just ending up on the other side of space, they kind of just went through a portal, which was known as the Void. And in the Void were just countless other planes of existence. Um, so, and that has gone somewhat. Like that, the toroid is no more. There's, like I said, this is a flat plane, and now there are just pockets of places, like little dungeon, and that are called quaintly dungeons, that rise up randomly. And if you go inside of these dungeons, you will climb your way down and you'll enter the in between plane, which is known as the Void, which has all types of creatures. Now, legend has it that the afflicted, these creatures that spread this spell scourge, a disease that overpowers magic in a negative way, they originated from the Void. So countless spellbinders go in it, but a lot don't return. So it's kind of, and you like, why don't you just seal it up?
For foreboding,
Definitely.
rising action.
And you're like, why don't you just blow it up and seal up the hole? Well, they've tried, and then another one just popped up within like a few days or so. It just, something is creating some magical force. So basically, all the wizards, witches, warlocks, and so on and so forth, the leaders, has said, why don't we just explore and see if we can find? Because no one knows much about the history. No one knows a lot about Era 2. So they go in there, find these ancient artifacts, and embattle these monsters who are in there. And legend has it that other planes can be reached by going deeper into the Void. But I will say this: there has the whole curse aspect of Descent to the Void Campaign 1, when if you rise up, you'll get cursed, that's all gone. The curse has been destroyed. And, well, who knows why. You'll have to do some research while you're in game to figure out what happened before and why it is the way now.
As a player in the first campaign, I will say the following. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm the reason the void still exists.
Oh. No, I'm not saying anything.
You don't have to. It's me.
What? Listen to Descent to the Void Campaign 1 on the website. You'll get all the juicy lore, and we'll have the other episodes out hopefully soon. There's only one season left.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna knock that out like pretty quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's essentially the Void in a nutshell.
All right. But yeah, again, it's me. I'm the problem. So moving to the Spell Scourge.
Hey, pulling down the Spell Scourge. So remember, like I said before, this disease, this magical disease, is being spread by these creatures that come out of the void, the afflicted, as they're called, and it's a disease that seems to only affect things that are woven or mana touched, things that can be magical. So it could be a person, like a budding sorcerer or wizard or what have you, or it could be an item there's like monoliths and other types of things that exist in this universe that are just innately magic. And it's basically magic code. Its source can be corrupted by this dark disease known as the Spell Scourge. And it's once you got the Spell Scourge, there's no cure. It's like the STI that'll never go away.
Oh no.
And it has really bad effects. So it's kind of like, and it could spread. So either they are quarantined or maybe they're killed. But they are dealt with as best as they can. So, and you will be introduced to people who might be turned afflicted, or become hexes, or
just, don't do this to me.
Could be your best friend. Just be like, how are you doing? Yeah, you're acting kind of funny. What's wrong with your magic? Oh, he's afflicted. Well, time to take him back. No.
No, but actually, though, one of our players is going to have guns, and we're going to have to do that at least once.
I am heavily expecting an argument between all of you and everyone, just like fighting over, like, do we save them? Do we not save them? No, we can't let them die. Like, it's the only way. I'm waiting for it.
Oh man, where's Cal when you need him for these type of judicial calls? Wow. Okay. So very cool.
But that's basic Spell Scourge. Hexes are the main thing. So like I said, hexes are things that cause these calamities, small like these abrasions in the world. So like if all of a sudden, I just use it like, this is not an actual thing, that's why I'm using it. If a volcano, if you're in the middle of the south in Lumaria, and which is cold, and all of a sudden like it becomes like an oasis appears and it's super hot, you're like, that's not right. It could be just a regular magical thing that happens, or it could be a spell scourge or hex created by a spell scourge.
It could be some steam vents, though. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. It's up to you as spellbinders to investigate, deem whether or not. And then even though you're spellbinders that stop hexes, you still might be hired to stop just bad things from happening that are magical based.
I mean, if you need me to investigate a hot spring sauna type situation, I'll be more than happy.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It could be something that's good. They're like, we depend on this for our economy. You're like, well, it's a spell scourge. Spell scourges also spread the we'll say hexes also spread the spell scourge. So you want to get rid of hexes. Like, you can't just leave it there, good or not. It's still a bad thing. So, but what they're like, our entire city relies on this. And I'm like, well, by the order of the spellbinders, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to stop this.
You have me spellbound.
Mm-hmm. sorry. Like, or maybe you'll go against it. Who knows? That you'll be uh introduced to these type of conundrums, and I'm curious to see how you all have your characters.
It's gonna be interesting, that's for sure. Because we have such a variety of different playing styles with this type of thing. So the philosophies are gonna be button heads, and it's gonna be good.
Mhm.
I think we lost the player packet,
Oh.
but
It's coming back up right now. There it is.
we do have just a few more minutos available. We are getting close to the 9 o'clock witching hour. I guess, Omar, if we had to pick something else to talk about in this player packet, I guess there's one thing I really want to hit on. And in the remaining sections of this player packet, I would like for you to pick something, we can spend a few minutes talking about really, really quick. Like, what's your next favorite thing in the player packet?
Sure. I've already went over the spellbinders. They're just really quick. The spellbinders are a sixth form of government. So you have all the 5 realms, and you have the sixth that has nothing to do with the realms. And they're the leaders of all the 5 citadels that are from, and the Barasset army that are from the 5 realms. They're called the Recherche.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
The Recherche.
The Recherche.
The Recherche.
The Recherche.
They handle everything magic. They're like the magical leaders of the world. So they
Okay, cool.
And the headmaster of the Fractal Sanctorum, whose name is Seraphim. They are non-binary, and they are an Aasimar, but more angelic than an Aasimar, more like a Deva. And like they're this entity that's lived for who knows how long. They probably even know a lot about the second era. No one knows how old Seraphim is, but they run they're the headmaster, and they're so jubilant and happy and want to spread magic.
Jubilant. Oh my gosh.
But it should be very exciting. But those are the leaders of the magical world, if you will. And then of course the actual Fractal Sanctorum we went over again, and the only thing I really want to go over next is the curricula. So
all right,
this is the meat and potatoes of the campaign. So remember I said that this is a Strixhaven influence, so we have lots of elements from Strixhaven. So in Strixhaven you're going to school, magic school, and you can be part of the houses Lorehold, Prismari, Quandrix, Silverquill, and Witherbloom. So this is taken straight from that book, but I have augmented it to fit into this campaign. So they are part of the Fractal Sanctorum, and those are like the 5 major houses, or they're called families here. They're the 5 major families of this. So when a student arrives to the Fractal Sanctorum and they have to be chosen, they may be, and usually it's by someone who's already part of the Fractal Sanctorum who they don't know, and they're like, surprise, you didn't know that, but we've been testing you for about a few months and you have been chosen to come to the Fractal Sanctorum.
That's so fucked up.
You're like, you were my best friend and mentor. They're like, and I also was a teacher who was teaching you for like a year. Now I feel like you are ready, because they want to make sure they have the best in the elite.
Oh my god.
But when you arrive, you touch the augury sphere, and it hums at
that does not sound good.
It's just a glowing sphere that you touch, and it kind of hums at a certain frequency, and basically depending on the frequency you get put into one of these families. Now you have your choice to go what family you want, but it tells you where you attune to. But it's always your kind of like if you read or saw the movie Divergent, you can be like, you got chosen for Erudite, but you could be like, I want to be Dauntless. You have that choice. But if your family were all Loreholds, for instance, and you're like, I'm gonna go with Quandrix, you might get shunned. Who knows? But
there surely couldn't be anybody else in this chat right now who's gonna have to deal with such repercussions for such actions.
Well,
that's awesome.
And And like the lore hole's all about like studying the history. Prismari is about the elements, the power. Quandrix are the numbers and the science behind magic. Silverquill all about the eloquence and beauty, and Witherbloom's all about like life and death and a lot of necromancy. So when it hums this tune, the proctor, the one who's kind of there, your sorting hat, if you will then also place you in a circle. So a circle is other people who harmonize with your resonance, with your with the sound that comes out of the augury sphere. They place you with them, and then that is your circle. So that is basically your group.
Interesting.
And that's where you players will more than likely harmonize with each other. And
oh man, I have a super nerdy music question.
Sure.
Is the reason that there are only 5 schools because we're on like a circle of fifths type of harmonic?
No, but it's funny you said that, because using a lot of the music I created are in fifths. Let me put it this way: the number 5 is significant in the story, and I'm done with that. That's all I'm saying. So you
heard it first on Storyboard.
But that's all I'll say. Maybe I said too much, but it's fine.
No.
You'll forget.
No. I just can't wait to see like cryptic tweets about like the number 5. It's gonna be like 5 of things that's gonna be posted pictures of. It's gonna be great.
Very excited. If you guys figure out too early, I'll change it. Just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I won't. No, I would never. I want you guys to figure it out and like build the lore. But I would just say that. But
okay.
That's why the number 5 is significant. So it's not only because of music, I would say, though I made the number 5 significant throughout the entire story, including the music that I built and so on and so forth. But basically that is how the families would be part of. Now there are noble houses. So one of the characters who in there is going to be one of the first houses of the family of Quandrix, in there. So like so there's several noble families in there. Yes.
Yeah, right.
So you can have many different family or houses inside of a family, and they're all related in some way, but that's a lore you'll have to dig deeper into once you start Witness.
Awesome.
I guess that's it. There's shops and stuff in this sheet. It's a scroll right at the bottom. There's shops that you may be familiar with: Double Wears Naga, the Blue Moon, High Gear, Final Element, Stormhammer, and Runes of Relics. So these are places that you can go shopping and maybe pick up some quests or something like that there. And
the keywords and phonetics is like my favorite part at the end of this packet, just because you want to sound like you're, of the realm. And in order to do that, it's pretty cool that there's like just some like keywords, maybe some pronunciation on them and how to say them, so that way you look like you brought your towel, for a lack of proper analogy.
Yeah, exactly. Like I want you to be able to like speak better, like understand what they're saying when they're like manamancy. What the hell is manamancy? But manamancy is just the study of mana, the flow of magic. It's like the basic of magic. So artificers would specifically use manamancy because they use manasite, which is a spore, to make magic. So you'll see stuff like that. Curricula, which is like the house that you're in, because as I mentioned before, when you go into the Fractal Centaurum, you pick 2 fields. You either are a mage, which is the magus, or you're a martialis, which is like a magical fighter. So so that's how. And then the afflicted, the recherche, hexes, the errors, archons, so on and so forth. All that is in there for your knowledge, so that way you can speak intelligibly on these subjects.
Awesome.
That's pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think that we covered a lot of ground in just under 2 hours.
Yeah.
I gotta ask. So if you're in the chat right now and you're watching and you haven't hit the follow button, I'm going to ask you to please hit the follow button, because I don't understand why you wouldn't have done that yet. Also, check out the merch store. I just saw some pictures recently of Omar in a brand new A Tale of D20s hoodie. Clutch. this time of year. Clutch. It is hoodie season.
So
and even if you get it, you know your partner's just going to take it anyways. So you might as well just get them a hoodie. Just saying. But also check us out on Patreon, Twitter, the webpage. You can find out a lot of deep lore about the world if you head to the webpage and go through some of the info for the first campaign, which you're going to be able to have that in your little pocket, the little piece of information that you can unwrap later when there's an Easter egg and you're like, I understand that reference. But Omar, where can people find you really quick?
You can find me on Twitter at thatsoomar, ThatSsoomar. Also, I also post on our at Tale d20s, so you can get me there. But yeah, basically I'm on the Twitter and then always doing ATOT stuff.
Awesome. So that's amazing, Omar. Thank you for spending time today with me on this inaugural visit of the Storyboard, where we are going frame by frame into the meta game. Still workshopping that little blurb there, but kind of what I came up with 5 minutes before today, and it's been a long day. I will say, just to kind of set the scene for the next time we play, or next time we meet, I will have member of the chat tonight, Zendaric, on to discuss his own campaign that is also going to be streamed right here on A Tale of D20s. So we have plenty of amazing content. Keep your schedule open for, what is that, two Wednesdays from now. That is the 28th. You're not doing anything. You're sitting at home anyways. Come on, just tune in, hear about this brand new world. Well, not exactly brand new, but it's complicated in such a beautiful way, and I'm very excited to dive into it with Zendaric on the 28th in 2 weeks. You're going to find me here every time for one of these sessions. It's Zektown. At Zektown on everything you can imagine. And it is brand new. Boom, shiny and new, as Travis would say. But I think with that, that kind of wraps the first episode of Storyboard. Thank you so much, Omar.
Thank you so much, Zach. This was amazingly and fun, and I can't wait to watch the future episodes.
Yeah, and I think I'm actually going to hop over to Amateurish Productions now, where we're going to do a heist. But so if you want to see me say silly things and get into some heist debauchery, come check that out. We're going to go raid AP right now.
Yep.
Oh, God. Oh, does that mean I should leave? Oh. But
well, I won't hit the raid now button, but whenever you're ready, we'll hop on over.
All right. Well, then I guess I'm going to jump off, and in some movie magic, you're going to see me change into my alter ego on Amateurish Productions. I'll see y'all soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right. I gotta